I'm Lynn. I'm one of the Cabarrus County Commissioners, and this edition today I'm out at the Frank Liske Park, and I've got Perry Gabriel with me this morning. And one of the reasons behind this particular out and about is we wanted to give the citizens an opportunity to give us some input on the rebuild of the park, the barn in particular, when the barn burned a couple of months ago. And we just want to invite the public to know what's going on and to give us some input. It's unfortunate as to what happened, but won't you tell us what happened a couple of months ago?
On the morning of March 26th, that was a Thursday night, Friday morning, I got a phone call from Kyle Villifer, one of our area managers, that the barn was on fire. I still kind of middle of the night, you wake up and you're like, did I really hear what I heard? So we came out and the barn was in flames. You could see it from Roberta Road coming in that night. And there was about 30 firefighters on site responding to the fire, and it pretty much was engulfed by the time I got here in about 15 to 20 minutes from my drive home. So that was the night of March 26th. They spent most of the day the next day going through the investigation, looking at everything, fire marshal's office along with some of the ATF agents, and eventually they did rule it as an arson.
Right.
And that investigation is still ongoing. Nothing has been determined as far as who or anything along those lines yet, but it was ruled an arson about a week or two after the fire on March 26th.
Right. And with that being said, Perry, even it's an ongoing investigation. If anybody that's viewing this knows anything about what happened on that particular night that destroyed the barn, please contact the sheriff's office or let someone know what you know, and every little lead may help, and then again it may not, but we sure would like to get to the bottom of what happened. Well, I'm hearing that even though the barn was burned and destroyed, that you still have a lot of opportunities going on, particularly for kids camp and things like that.
Right. Unfortunately, we had to move camp down to the arena this year because of the barn. This is where we house one of the many events.
But we're still having it though, but it's just not here.
It's just not here. So camp is at the arena, but that was one of the main things that took place here at the barn. The 9-week camp, 5 days a week, so about 45 days out of the summer. We had over 100 to 125 kids that were here at the barn doing arts and crafts, athletics, educational sessions, field trips, a lot of different things. So when that happened, when we had to move it to the arena, that was one of the biggest events. But not only that, it's not the only event that we have. We've got birthday parties, class reunions, we've got family outings, church outings. We have businesses that come out and do training in the barn. So a lot of different things took place in that barn over the last 40 years almost.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a wonderful amenity to Cabarrus County, and I've been out here many times myself, and it was a shame to see what happened, but it goes back for quite a while. I think the mid-1900s or something, when this farm was an active dairy farm. But would you talk a little bit, Perry, about the history of this park and in particular what was going on here, say 50, 60 years ago?
Correct. In the 1900s, early 1900s, this served as the dairy barn for the Stonewall Jackson Training School.
Right.
And the actual kids from the school would come over here and they would take care of the cattle and everything that was here on the land. So they farmed it, they took care of the cattle, they fed them and all that good stuff. And that was just kind of part of their duties for being at Stonewall Jackson. And then I think it was around 1970 is when they kind of got the land and the county got involved. And eventually 1982, with the help of Frank Liske, and if people don't know who Frank Liske was, he was the director at Stonewall Jackson for a number of years. He was the director over at the school, and he worked with Governor Jim Hunt back in that time, 1981, and got the land, got at least to Cabarrus County, and then in June of 1982, that's when the park was officially opened.
And you and I were talking earlier, Perry, about the last 6 or 7, 8 years, some of the legislators and county commissioners together were working to get the property transferred from the state over to Cabarrus County.
That was a recent announcement that come about. You probably know a little bit more detail about that than I do, but it's we lease the land from the state, and that's going to come to an end, I think, sometime here shortly, whenever all the paperwork and all that good stuff happens. But we will have the land, and we've built a lot of things on this property over the years. We've added a disc golf course. We've added a bunch of different things. It gets bigger and bigger, and eventually we're going to need more land to keep adding amenities for the citizens to enjoy.
Well, as the county grows, you're going to have more, it seems like. What's going on now with the barn being rebuilt and all the things that incorporates, this makes Cabarrus County's premier park here at Frank Liske. And you know, with what we have planned, working with C Design is the architect. I think there was 10.
Right, there were 10 that we started with. We narrowed it down to 4, went through some extensive research and the bid process. There's a committee of 5 people that sat on that committee that picked C Design. And then here recently, we've had some meetings with C Design in the very early stages of the barn preparation. But I wanted to mention about the barn as well. We are somewhere about 85% capacity. When that barn is used from March through November, we have about 85 to 90% capacity of reservations in it every weekend. And really the only day that we don't have capacity is Sunday mornings. That's the least reserved time. But 85% capacity reservations, it's about 300, 320 reservations a year in that barn. You know, there's only 365 days, and January and February and December really don't count because there's not a lot during that time. So you can see how full that barn stays.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to mention too, Perry, and that is with C Design. I sat in on one of the presentations, the last meeting that I was at where you were at.
Right.
And they had, and you can sort of correct me if I'm wrong, but they had like a presentation of 3 different types, going back with traditional, the way it was, and then there was another one, and then there was a more modern, you know, and by it having to comply with the ADA, Americans with Disability Act, it may require an elevator, but we've talked about alternate routes of getting people to the 2nd floor. What's your thoughts on going back with it? Where do you think we at, Perry?
Well, I think where we stand now is C Design has done a great job holding the meetings. We've had a couple of different meetings. One meeting was just to get them familiar with what was in the barn prior to the fire. So they kind of said, okay, what did you have? What did you use it for? What were the activities, the programs that you need it to be when we rebuild it? What needs to be available when you rebuild it? And is there anything new that needs to go in there? So that was kind of the first couple of meetings, was finding out about the old barn, and then, you know, find out what's going to be in the new barn. And then they're going to put all that information together and then come back with some proposals. And one of the questions was, what is it going to look like?
Right.
One of the things I think they want to do is they want to keep the tradition of the barn.
Right.
They want to keep the heritage or the tradition of what the barn used to look like and what it was used for over the past years. But they also want to look forward, not just 5, 10 years, but for the next 20 to 25 years. What's the future of this barn? What's the future of this land and this park? And how is that barn going to be incorporated into the future events and programs that take place there?
Yeah, and you mentioned that you're 85% booked. And for most of the time for these type events, do you have people that you have to turn away because you didn't have in the old barn capacity to suit them?
We turn people away regularly. That's one of the things people call. They want to rent, and it's booked. What's the next available date? The good thing about that is now we book it 1 year in advance, and we've actually had people who called right after July 4th of this year and wanted to book it July 4th of next year.
Wow.
But, you know, not knowing the timeline of when the barn will be rebuilt, we're not taking any additional reservations at this time. But booking 1 year in advance, there are people that have the reunions the same weekend or birthday parties the same weekend, and as soon as that one is done, first thing on Monday morning, they're calling and rebooking it for the following year. And those people are smart because they're the ones that are getting the reservations, but we turn people away quite a bit.
Yeah, well, that's good, you know, that we had a facility, and we're going to rest assured the citizens that we're going to have another facility for too awful long. And but we do want to invite the public's input, though. Give us some ideas. I mean, we don't know it all. I'm sure C Design don't know it all, and so we would like to be able to come together with a wide range of input from different people. And so be sure, you know, if you get a chance to watch this and you have a comment or a recommendation or something, be sure to get up with Perry or myself or someone at the county office and just say that I wanted to talk to somebody about the park out at Frank Liske, the barn rebuild, and I'm sure somebody will put you on the right track.
There will be some citizens input. Eventually C Design will be putting some things together. The county website, the Twitter, Facebook pages, you'll be able to get all that information on how you can give input on the barn. And so when it comes time for that, you'll be able to, you know, to submit your information to county staff at that time.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, Perry, I want you to know I really appreciate you coming out here at the park early this morning. Beautiful day. Thank you all for viewing it. and hope to see you again sometime soon out and about.
If you have suggestions for topics or location that you would like to see on Out and About, please contact us. Our email address is outandabout@cabarruscounty.us.